Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Damer, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com.
Well, Rabbi, we love to have law enforcement folks here.
To get you out of trouble over here.
We like to be friendly with them. We had Gilderland and Delmar and Bethlehem Police and the Albany Police Chief and the Colony Police Chief, Schenectady Police Chief. Now we got the Troy Police Chief.
All right, now we got the full capital district.
John Tedesco.
Thank you for having me.
It's nice to have you here, and
thank you.
You're rounding out now maybe Saratoga Police Chief. I got to get on the show,
right.
But we're rounding out the capital district here, so it's great to have you on the show.
Well, thanks for asking me.
Tell us about your department and what services and the type of policing, because there's all different models of policing that you do. And
we are a full service provider, if you will. We're currently at 130 officers. Just received a federal grant to increase that by 3. So effective January 1, we'll be increasing to 133 officers, which is great. We offer SWAT, K-9, a special services unit for victims of sexual abuse and child abuse that we started this year. In addition to that, we have a 24-hour detectives community police unit and also a narcotics unit. So, and we're a busy agency. We handle about 48,000 calls a year.
Wow.
It is a lot. We're really very busy.
And you've been in the news for being so busy.
Unfortunately, the wrong type of news, but that's correct.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you probably do very good things also, but you have to, protect the very nature of saying you're protecting the citizens is bad, means that there's bad news out there.
That's unfortunately, the bad news keeps us in business.
If everyone were angels, you wouldn't be in business.
That's right, exactly.
So.
Yeah, we had a tough summer. As you know, we had 6 homicides, a series of shootings. But I'm very proud of our detectives. We would expect that in the near future we'll have a 100% solvability rate on our homicides, and I think that's really, I applaud them for their efforts.
Is this a record number of homicides for your city?
No, actually, it's not. We're researching the records now. I think back in 1976 when I became an officer, I think we had 10. So we only averaged 3 a year over the last 5 years. So it is a spike. There's no question.
And how long have you been chief?
I've been chief since April of 2010.
Okay. You liking it?
Love it.
Love it.
Love it.
Since you've been around for so long, again, a little bit my connection to Troy, even though I live in Bethlehem, is that I was the rabbi for the Best of Phil 82 River Street for a while. So I saw downtown and we walked around a lot. It seems that Troy is, I don't know the crime rates, and that's why I'm asking you, but it seems like it's getting up and up, a little bit more upscale, and the houses are getting nicer. I don't know if that reflects in the crime rate or not.
It does. And actually, our crime rate is down. Violent crime has pretty much remained stable, and sometimes it's dipped below last year's rate. And you say that to people and you get funny looks because the crimes that we have had this summer, there's a lot of celebrity attached to them. So it really makes it seem much worse than they are. Our crime rate right now is actually being driven by larcenies. Our larcenies are off the books. We have a very high record of stolen vehicles. But as far as violent crime, it's actually pretty steady.
So people should lock their cars? Is that?
There's no question. What we're finding, the Albany has an information center. It just ran stats for the Capital District. 90% of the stolen vehicles have keys in them.
Really?
That's an astonishing rate.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't think
and this
that
is
at all.
for Troy, 90% of the cars
Capital
in Troy?
District.
And what about Troy?
They didn't break Troy out individually, but when we take reports, what we find now, though, is that a lot of people will say the keys were not in them because we give them a ticket for doing so and try and prevent this from going on. But the larceny from vehicles is extremely high. People are leaving computers, change on the front seats.
I mean, you always hear around the holiday season, put everything in your trunk, and you only hear about it, when you go to the shopping mall, don't leave anything on the seat, but you only hear about it during holiday season, shopping season, that sort of thing. But it should be all year round.
It is all year round with us, but when we see the height is when the colleges come back in.
Okay.
All right, so you have RPI, you have Russell Sage, Hudson Valley, and then you have your locals, if you will, that are out looking out, trying doors, and having a lot of success.
What's your impression of the Jewish community and how safe the Jewish community is in Troy?
Very safe. We work with the FBI. We have an officer assigned to the JTTF, the Joint Terrorism Task Force. We attend any briefings that they have, and we are very comfortable that the Jewish population is safe in the city of Troy.
Because in the before the high holidays every year, there's a meeting,
Yes.
a community meeting. Did you go to
I
that,
didn't.
or-
I didn't go this year. But I did send a representative.
Okay, because and I used to go representing an agency. I used to go to those meetings, and I always hear, "Yep, everything is fine. You know, we're going to have a patrol car. You know, if a synagogue wants a patrol car, we'll put one there for you. But you know, if there's a call, we're going to have the police car leave, patrol car leave for a call." But
No,
you know,
we don't. No, we don't do that. If we assign a patrol as a detail, if you will,
Yeah, detail. Yeah.
they're there. That's their call.
Okay.
They don't. We do not pull them from that call.
But do you have? I mean, you have 3 synagogues in Troy. Do you have officer detail to
If
each
it-
of the synagogues?
if it's requested, we will do it.
If it's requested.
If it's requested.
Is it ever requested?
You know, it used to be requested quite frequently, the synagogue on Hoosick Street, but over the last several years, we haven't had any requests.
Okay.
As things calm down, it's good to know.
It is good to know.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you say that. I mean, put in a little bit of the Jewish view. It says that, you know, the person has to be a good person, and it says the eye sees and then the heart desires. I mean, maybe like which comes first? Like you say, the keys in the car. Hey, that's an easy hit. All I have to walk in right there, and I got a car.
Right.
Or, you know, I mean, or that person was looking for a car. You know, it's like which comes first, because sometimes you put something out, like the cat and mouse.
Exactly.
You know, so you have to be careful. That's why I say on the person, really, on the regular homeowner, saying, hey, don't entice a person. They see a bicycle out on the lawn or keys in the car. Maybe you're part of the problem, you know, just.
Well, and they are, and that's what we try to get. We have a very strong community groups in the city of Troy because we really push the community policing concept. And, you know, a bicycle can be out, you know, wouldn't matter to folks like us, the average homeowner, but, you know, somebody going down the street, it's a kid, you know, opportunity is there, okay, and some of those kids take up on it. So I think homeowners do have a responsibility to help drive that down. And, you know, it's unfortunate to say in this day and age that you have to do that, but that's the time we live in.
Well, maybe they need GPS trackers on bicycles and.
That's probably next.
That's right. Let me. I had this situation recently, and I really should ask you about this. If you see someone who's doing something that's idiotic on the road, and you get their license plate number, can they call you up, call your department up and say, hey, look, this guy, here's the license plate number, this guy was driving erratically, this guy, you know, this car was blowing through red lights, going what seemed to be maybe 65, 70 in a 45, and they give you the license number. Can you do anything with that, or does an officer actually have to see the action happen?
There's 2 components to that. Both are very good questions. First of all, yes, we do. We will follow up in any of those complaints as long as they're timely. It would amaze you to know that the number of people will call you and say, yesterday I was on Hoosick Street and New York ABCD was following me erratically. It's a little tough to investigate something like that. But what we like to catch is the operator in the vehicle, okay, in close proximity to the time. But we certainly would look into that, but on the converse, in order for us to work on that or to effectively give a summons, we need your statement. And a lot of people are not willing to come forward and do that.
Okay, so if the person who saw it gives the statement, then you can give the ticket.
Then we can issue this, then we can work on it. Yep.
Oh, that's
correct.
Good to know, because I saw someone going in Albany, driving like a nut job, and I followed him far away. He
Sure.
was, you know, I didn't go as fast as him or whatever, but you know, he was going to the emergency room at St. Peter's Hospital, and I saw his car parked right in front of the emergency room, and you know, you can only imagine he had a lot on his mind, but you don't want to be the victim to go to the emergency room. You want to drive safely.
Yes.
When you're driving to the emergency room. You know, I mean, I know it's a lot of adrenaline flowing inside of you, but still, you just want to be safe, even if you're going to an emergency room.
You're correct. And what we tell young officers, you know, the adrenaline's going, hot call comes in, you have to get there first, and you have to get there safely. True, in that case, you know, we would certainly look, and maybe we could even help the gentleman on the road. Maybe he had a medical condition. Maybe someone was in the car.
Maybe his son, he got a call from the hospital that his son was in the emergency room, and he was trying to get there as fast as he could. I mean, you don't know what the situation was, but still, get there safely.
Get there safely.
Yeah.
That, you know, and our officers would exercise discretion in that matter. We've all been there. Let's face it. Family emergency, things of that nature. But you're right. You know, it depends on what they're doing. You can't hit 3 parked cars on your way down there. Case in point, Friday afternoon I was out, I was going to a meeting, and a call came over for a reckless driver, okay, road rage. Earlier in the day, one of the patrol cars had observed that vehicle and knew who the driver was.
Oh.
So you never really know. Any piece of information to us can be very valuable.
Okay. Now, you said earlier that you have 130 officers, you're going to get 3 more in a federal grant. What would be full force for you? What would be a full force?
I think, Rabbi, if we could get up to about 140 officers.
Okay.
But I think more importantly, for departments like Troy, Schenectady that are really very heavily unionized, what we need is the right to deploy those officers in the right manner. So 140 is nice, but I can't guarantee more than 8 on the street, irrespective of the number.
Right.
So, you know, that challenge is for the bargaining table, and I certainly hope that, you know, we're taking it up right now. I don't know how successful we will be, but I certainly hope the next chief, if he has the same view, continues in that manner.
Well, you're not going so fast, are you?
Nah, not as fast as some would like.
Okay. Let me ask you, you had some officers resign or
Yes.
whatever. What happened with that? What was the case? I mean, it was like 8 officers? I mean, it was something
A long time ago.
past year, 2 years?
No.
No? What was, maybe it was a long time ago, I don't know. But
We, within the last couple of years, in fact, in February of this year, we had an officer that was involved in some illegalities off duty. So as we were pursuing that internally, the officer resigned and then was subsequently indicted down in Columbia County for robbery. We have a couple of the officers I think probably you're referring to that were suspended for violation of department rules. 2 of those cases are being reviewed by the FBI.
currently?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And we're waiting to see what the outcome of that is, and then we'll decide what the final discipline is or if termination.
And those 3 cases, that's it?
That's really it. We do have a 4th case that's pending. We have another officer that broke the code, if you will, at least is accused of leaking information on drug raids. We were working on a wiretap with the New York State Police, and the officer had given information out to a party that caused the wiretap and all the information to be divulged.
Oh, so when you arrived, they were gone already?
They hit the house.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So that officer was suspended. We could only suspend 30 days by law. He was arrested and is being prosecuted by the Attorney General's office. So what we do in New York State, there has to be a 2-part disciplinary system, and it can't run into the criminal part. So normally what we do is we sit and wait for the criminal part to be resolved. The tough part is, and what the public doesn't like and what I don't like, is that we don't bring the officer back, and we can only suspend without pay for 30 days by law. So they sit home with pay after that.
You can't give them like a desk job or something?
We could, but if in
Remote?
cases that are that severe, we tend to leave them right out of the department.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know, talking about segue, you're talking about drug raids and drugs, and like Mark said at the beginning of the show, we have so many police officers on our show, and really with one statement, they just say the heroin trade is terrible. I mean, how did you feel that in Troy, number one, and what can you do about it as a police officer? You know, there's counseling, but you're not a counselor.
Because if you got an answer to well, what can you do with it in Troy, you should market that.
I'm not that good. I wish I was. The state of New York is about 3 years behind on the heroin epidemic. Our drug investigators saw that surge 3, maybe even 4 years ago, saw it coming in heavy. You know, the answer to that, I don't think necessarily is harsher drug sentences. I certainly think for dealers that are dealing in quality or quantity, if you will, you know, I think that might be a just punishment. But I think for your everyday user, I think counseling, hopefully rehabilitation. But it is an epidemic, and I think it's going to ravel the crack cocaine epidemic.
Should there be, according to your officers, and should there be a residency requirement for officers and for administration?
No.
of the police department? Why not?
There is some residency required for certain positions by the public officers law, mayor, mostly members of his staff. My training, my graduate training is in human resources and labor. And I really think that when you have restrictions like that, all you do is have a smaller pool from which to select.
Yeah, but don't you have, I mean, even officers who would live in the city, wouldn't that make their block or their neighborhood safer, that you have an officer within the neighborhood?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I really don't. I think officers are entitled to their privacy and their time off, as is anyone else. But the argument I don't like to hear is that, well, if an officer lives in this city, he'll care more. Now, I've lived both in and out of Troy for my entire career, and I have never once said it in response to a radio broadcast, well, I don't live in the city, I don't care, okay? So I think that's a very specious argument.
Okay, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah.
asked that.
So-
Because that's a message that's kind of hard to get out to people.
And you're not a Troy resident?
Not now, I'm not, no.
Okay.
No.
And let's see, what else? What I want to ask you. Oh, when you had the commissioner in your, because we had the Schenectady people on, and they have a commissioner and a
Yes.
police chief situation. But the police chief said that their commissioner is the commissioner of various services, fire, EMS, and police. So, it's not like he's just targeting only the police and like this oversight of just police. Would that have worked better because when you had the commissioner for a few months, I guess it was, he only was the commissioner of the police? Would it have been better if he was commissioner of, variety of services that you might not have, pardon me, felt threatened maybe? I mean, I don't know.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I have to be a little bit careful the way I'm answering this because there's a pending legal
I had
action.
to be careful about how I
I know you do. I
ask
know
it,
that.
so
I appreciate
understand.
that. I think it's Schenectady, the Commissioner of Public Safety,
Yes.
which has the broader services, was necessary. Schenectady had a real rough run. And when you look at departments the size of Albany and Schenectady and Troy, and not so much Albany, they're a little bigger, it's difficult for a commissioner to come from in-house and do the things that were necessary in Schenectady. It takes a special person. I think Wayne Bennett's done an outstanding job over there, I really do. And I think he was the right guy. You went in there, you don't have the affiliations, and if somebody has to be terminated, then you do what's necessary. The city of Troy didn't face that. We've had commissioners of public safety, we've had commissioners of police. And as you know, our feeling, myself, my attorney, our issue is that we felt the appointment of just a police commissioner is illegal. And that's what we're pursuing to this day. But I don't think, outside of a lot of criminality or misconduct, I don't really think agencies the size of those that operate in Troy, a commissioner's not needed. There's just not enough work to be done.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fair enough. I just wanted to.
And also, there's one big factor, though, I think you should know.
Sure.
When the last commissioner came in before the Commissioner Magneto, chiefs were in unions. Okay, I am not a union employee. So I think mayors now have a little bit more of a closer relationship knowing that. The fire chief is still in a union, but my understanding is when he retires, the next fire chief will not be. So I think that lessens the need for the commissioner also, because I can understand the mayor not wanting to have that confidential relationship with a union member.
Now, you were an appointee, maybe appointee's not the right word, of Harry Tatunjian.
Yes.
You getting along with this mayor? Everything's good? Are you warming up? Is it still a getting to know you period? Is it?
No, I think we both know that we're never going to come to an agreement on all the issues, but it's necessary that we work together for the good of the people.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think we're both making our best effort to do that.
So you're warming up to each other. You're still dating. You're still dating.
We're still dating, okay.
You're not married yet. You're
Not
still
married yet,
dating.
no.
Okay. Well, that's somewhat healthy sometimes, because then you don't get what the city of Albany had with when Mayor Jennings was here with his police commissioner, and the police chief rather had to resign, and there was all sorts of problems, and he was best friends with the mayor, and they'd go out
Yes.
drinking and playing golf together, and I mean, it's somewhat good to have a bit of tension maybe, or where you're doing it for the good of the people, but you have your own independent view.
I agree with you 100%. I think that as long as you both act professionally and you present your view with the goal of representing the people that you serve,
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of the nonsense out of it, if you will.
You know, and what you say behind closed doors stays behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
When you get in front of the cameras and publicly, that's a whole different story. You know, like the football team or
Yes.
whatever. In the Army, you're there as a force, together.
And we are. And when you look at the last year that Troy has had, the Kokopelli's incident,
Yes.
our officers had 2 leaders, and that's tough on the rank and file when you have 2 different administrations. Even though I was there before,
Right.
you get used to another guy, you go back to the other way. So I think it's very important that you show that you're having a unified front here and supporting your officers and working to protect your citizens.
Now, when you mention Kokopelli's, that's a Jewish-owned business. So I'm going to bring up Kokopelli's because the Glicks are Jews,
Yes.
and we want to see Jewish-owned businesses succeed. What's your problem with the? I mean, let's face it. They didn't call people up and say, "Hey, come in and have a brawl in my bar."
No, of course not.
But they're getting the nuisance points for having the brawl in the bar that they had no. They stayed out of the way. They called the cops. They said, "Hey, come on in. We got a problem." And the owner stayed away and let you guys do your thing. He didn't interfere. But yet he's getting penalized for it now.
He is, because under the, he violated several different
Allegedly.
No, you're right, allegedly.
Okay.
He violated several different laws, dealing with taxes, employment, things of that nature, in addition to the issues of the alcohol beverage and control law. So, while we would like to see any business survive in Troy, we don't feel that he ran his business in the proper fashion.
So is it, now 4th Street, and we had the mayor on the show, and he said the whole 4th Street area between Congress and State is being redeveloped. He has this new plan because it's like, I think during holiday times, the only street that doesn't have lights up and, it looks dingy and there's a lot of abandoned buildings. I mean, your view is not economic development and how to make the city look pretty, but that helps law enforcement if you have vibrant businesses and you don't have a blight on the street. I mean, can't you do something to help these folks? Maybe he needs an education. Maybe it needs to be,
And we did. We met with them before they opened.
Yeah.
And we gave them our viewpoints, such as closing at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
To avoid the troubles that normally take place when you're open late, things of that nature. And I have nothing personal with the Glicks. I do feel that his criticisms of the police department were unwarranted when we had the public safety meetings, but we'd be more than willing to work with him. He had a great crowd there the other night. Oh yeah, absolutely. They were lined up outside the door. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, sure. And we would support that.
Because he's telling me that, one night he took in, he paid the employees more than he took in. I mean, there's not, what I'm saying is that there's not a bad crowd, there's not a good crowd, there's no crowd.
Yeah, well,
maybe that, and I've been there a few times to, see, and there really isn't a crowd. Now, maybe he's got one special event and one night that he...
That very well could be.
But I would hate to see another blight on that block where it's an abandoned building. And I don't know if you know this, or if you feel for this, but because he criticized you. I mean, maybe, but his father gave his son his retirement money to buy the building and to open the bar. $325,000. It's not chump change.
Not at all.
And, you feel sorry that here's a guy, you don't want him to lose the business. Can you do something to help them recover? I mean...
If after all the legal issues are settled...
He might not be in business by then.
Well, he may not be, but if he is, we would be more than happy to sit down, settle any differences, and
what I'm
support
saying,
him.
that may be too late. Can you do something beforehand to try to help him out of his legal trouble and drop some stuff or do something where, nothing?
I don't believe so, because for us to do that now would be interfering in the ongoing cases, and that's beyond our purview.
And then he has some SLA issues, State Liquor Authority issues?
And I believe that's this month. That's
Yeah.
ongoing this month.
And this week, yeah.
This week?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, so you don't have any
No, because
recourse now?
no, it's an adversarial process, and at this point, we're working with
Can't
the
say
State
we
Liquor
kissed and
Authority.
made up and we're not
Oh, God,
adversarial
no.
anymore?
No, it's just not that easy. No.
I'm just trying to
Oh, I
help.
appreciate that. And We don't want to see a business close either, but we have to demand that it's run in the proper and lawful fashion.
You know, but, you know, I'm just thinking, you know, there's got to be some, because you don't want, I mean, you know, you start getting these rumors, you start getting people saying things that are unnecessarily bad about this one and that one, whether they're true or not, they start this.
Oh, there's no question. The rumor mill is 10 times worse than the actual problem is.
You know, so, you know, now they just, people just don't go there. And then they say bad things about the police department. The police department's not all bad. Look, you just said, would you have 3 or 4 officers out of 130 that were bad. That doesn't mean your department's bad. You got rid of the bad apples. You know?
Yes.
I mean, no one's perfect.
Not at all.
So we should do something.
But I guess I would question that there's no business, because there was a large disturbance there a couple of weeks ago. They were lined, I was told, out the door down the block this weekend, so.
Okay.
Maybe it's picked up.
Sure. Maybe it has.
Maybe it's
Maybe it
picked
has.
up. I don't know.
People forget, you know,
I don't
maybe
know.
they have a sale on or something. 2 beers for the price of one over here.
It's
maybe
called
they
happy
forget.
hour.
Yeah, exactly. But we have a lot of people that share your view that it is a well-run bar. So, you know, was this an aberration? We don't know, but it was a pretty serious event.
And then the Albany incident that happened was no fault of their own, and they only let in what they were allowed to let in, and then the students were out in the street.
Mm-hmm.
And you just said, you know, but everyone said, oh, it's Kokopelli's, oh, it's got to blame them. And the media gets on their case and
Well,
says,
there you go.
You know, oh, this happened at this bar, another bar, but these things have been happening since the Kokopelli's bar case. And this particular instance never had to deal with Kokopelli's. The media brings it in. You know.
Same as it was never a racial incident. That was brought in. That Kokopelli's on that night had nothing to do with race
Oh.
in any fashion.
Why do you say that?
When the officers responded to the call, A, they didn't know who was in there, nor do they care. And I don't really think it matters if an officer is assaulted by a white person or a black person. They're being assaulted. So, you know, it was certainly not racial to us. And then you had the political mix come in that, you know, Troy is famous for that. So, you know, Kokopelli's was definitely taken into different dimensions than what actually occurred there. You know, we're concerned with the ABC violations. Obviously, the tax department's concerned with their end of it. But our concern was also the 6 officers that went to the hospital. So it was by all intents and purposes, that was a riot. There's no question about that.
And the Glicks didn't send those 6 officers to the hospital. It was their patrons and who they didn't say, hey, look, you're the bad guys, we want you in the bar. I mean, it just happened that they happened to own the establishment. the
And
Glicks,
that's
so-
where the responsibility comes in. They're responsible for the conduct of those patients, both within and without of the establishment.
Do you think that's fair?
Yes.
Why?
Because there has to be some control over people within the bounds of the establishment. So the onus is on the bar owner, or the property owner, if you will, to maintain and control that premises.
Okay, well, if you put your thinking cap on and something else comes up, maybe you can, you know.
We should all go over there and have a drink of L'chaim over here.
Well, you know what, I was thinking maybe there could be like some sort of news event or news conference where, you know, the leaders of the community stand up in front of Kokopelli's and say, those were an aberration, that was an aberration, this, you know, isn't the way it is anymore, and, you know, it's a good bar, and, you know, and please come and, you know, don't be scared to come in here, you know?
Yeah,
And
you
maybe
know,
something positive could be said
no
about the
question
bar,
about it.
so.
I don't see any reason why, when all the legal issues are done, if Mr. Glick decides to stay in business, that can't be done. You know, our job is also to promote him and to help him maintain his business. So, you know, economic vitality.
He hasn't felt the love right now.
No, I know he hasn't. Economic vitality is critically important to the police department also.
All right, well, maybe you can,
If you know Mr. Glick,
You know.
we're willing to have a cup of coffee and sit down.
okay, maybe we'll work on that.
Absolutely.
Okay?
I'm all
right.
for it.
All right, what else would you like people to know about your department that we didn't talk to you about?
Really that, you know, in the city of Troy, I think they should be proud of their department, and we appreciate their support more than they know. No matter where I've gone throughout the city, with 99% of the community groups that we have, we've received outstanding support, and for people to be patient during, and that's very hard for people to do, especially families, to outweigh the outcome of a homicide. The shooting victims, for that to be resolved. So I want to say thank you to the community that we serve, and I want to really thank them for their support. Because without that support, our job will be 10 times more difficult.
And your officers ride in a police car single? I mean, as a single, with their computer being their partner?
And I'm looking to do away with that.
You're looking to do away with that?
I am. Right now, we're going through our in-service training, so once a week, myself and the other chiefs, we meet with the classes. And what we're really trying to do right now is make the officers more comfortable in the cars. So we're going to SUVs versus a regular sedan, and I'm looking to do away with the laptop computers and go to an iPad. So right now, we're testing that.
Okay.
What I would like to do before I leave is when you're appointed, we give you an iPad, you get your radio, and the rest of your equipment. Hopefully within the next year, we'll be with Albany Police Department on their record management system. We'll be wireless. The officers can do everything right on the pad.
So they don't have to go back to the station to fill out reports?
Not at all.
They could do everything right in their
Right
car.
there.
So if you see an officer pulled over and it looks like he's not doing anything, he's probably doing office work in his car, so that if there is an incident, he doesn't have to leave from a station, he can leave right from the street.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you look at it in terms of efficiency, we want the officers on the road as much as possible.
Right.
But we also, that's their office. I have a nice office. I'm very comfortable. The officers deserve the same.
All right, I think we're out of time,
Yes.
Chief. In any case, we want to thank you for the good work you're doing for the people
Thank
of
you.
Troy, and keep up the good work and do it with good health.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Much success to you, much success.
Thank you. I appreciate
Good
it.
to have you on.
Thank you.